Thank you, Santa, for all that you have given me this year. Though Tua kind of gave me more with those 3 interceptions. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast and Podcast where you don't have to do Packers time, but it sure still is help. I'm your host, Tom. We ain't dead, Grossi, and oh boy, today we are going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers victory over the Miami Dolphins of 26-20, a game that not many people thought we could win, a game that I was very nervous about even before the season started. But the Green Bay Packers got one step closer to the postseason. And more importantly, this was the greatest weekend ever for the Green Bay Packers. All the teams that they needed to lose lost. They won. And the Packers are 2 wins away and a Commanders loss away from making the playoffs. We'll talk about that in a hot second because there's a lot to break down for this game. First, oh boy. Let's talk about that first half. The Packers, they could have been up even more because they left a lot of points on the board. Their red zone offense was not really efficient today. But you also thought the Dolphins could be kicking our ass because it seemed like every single time the Dolphins were touching the ball, they were doing magic with it. Whether it was the first drive and Raheem Mostert running very effectively. Hell, he had 31 yards in 2 carries, his first 2 carries of the game. And then for whatever reason, the Dolphins just stopped running the football. Then you had Jalen Waddle, the first play of their second series. Gone. Touchdown. And Tyreek Hill started burning our secondary. And apparently it got so bad that Joe Barry was like, hey, yo, gotta curse him out during halftime. And they came out a completely different defense in the second half. But Rodgers, 24 for 38, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks on the day, was pressured a lot. Of course, Josh Nijman being injured in that game did not help. You had Royce Newman come in, and he didn't play that well. Also had some penalties. But Aaron Rodgers, he was the talk of the town, of course, during this game. There's been a lot of speculation about him, a lot of talking about him this season because he has been playing like his back-to-back MVP-like self. But this game, you saw the highs and lows of 2022 Aaron Rodgers. You had a beautiful dime thrown to Allen Lazard on the sideline, an absolute incredible throw. Rodgers navigated the pocket at times, trying to extend the play. That was beautiful. And then you just had some blatant misses. On 4th and 2, they decide to go long with it. He misses an open Christian Watson. On top of that, Allen Lazard across the middle misses him for a touchdown, instead throws to him late. And Rodgers, that's what you're going to get with him now. He still can be the MVP. He still can play at an incredibly high level, but it's just not as consistent. And I think that that has been the story of the 2022 Green Bay Packers this year. It's just been a lack of consistency. And I've said it now for months. When the defense plays well, the offense doesn't play well. When the offense plays well, the defense doesn't play well. And it just goes back and forth. However, this game, it was enough for them to get the win. Taking a look at the run game, we didn't have one. Aaron Jones apparently got banged up, had to get his foot and ankle wrapped up, and then was able to go back out there. So that's why he was missing, because everybody on the broadcast was going, where the hell is Aaron Jones? Because he just hasn't been utilized this year. Take a look at their run game and remember that the Dolphins have the number 10 run defense in the league. Dillon, 11 for 36, 1 touchdown, also caught 2 receptions for 12 yards. And Aaron Jones, 6 for 25, also had 9 yards via receptions. So in total, you had 25 carries between Patrick Taylor, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Rodgers, 25 for 79. Meanwhile, the Dolphins on just 18 carries had 82 yards, but for some reason, as I said, they just stopped running the ball. Allen Lazard, the leading receiver today, 5 for 61. Watson, 6 for 49. Watson leaving that game with an injury, and we had some big injuries today. Besides Josh Nijman and Christian Watson, you also lost Keyshawn Nixon, who had an amazing 90-plus yard return on his first return to set the Packers up on the 9-yard line of the Dolphins. Unfortunately, weren't able to capitalize and just kicked a field goal. But Keyshawn Nixon is a difference maker, and I'm so happy to see him do it. But I'm not going to lie, there's a small part of me that continues to be infuriated that he was there the whole time, and yet we had Amari Rodgers returning kicks. Romeo Doubs went back to return, and it just was not the same as Nixon, as he definitely, as I said, is a difference maker. Meanwhile, the defense, we talked about that pitiful first half performance. Well, that second half, very different. The defense shut out the Miami Dolphins. And listen, the offense came out, they took up like half of the third quarter. Then the Dolphins had a long sustained drive. The defense came up big there. And the Dolphins, after that, 3 interceptions for Tua Tagovailoa. And they are now calling him Tua turned the ball over. And it was pretty impressive. Tua was just not throwing the ball well. Jair Alexander had an amazing interview in the postgame in which he couldn't believe it was coming his way either.
I seen number 10 coming across the field. I said, oh, snap, he fast. So I bagged off. When I bagged off, I seen him coming. He ran right in front of me. I was like, wow, is he really overthrowing it? Took it down the sideline, turned over my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
And they had to deal with so much speed, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle tore up that secondary, and then they just got away from it. Tua started to struggle a bit more, and had a rough game in that second half. Tua 16 for 25, 310 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, was sacked twice. Mostert, only 8 carries, had 45 yards. And as I said, 30 of those yards came on the first 2 plays. Wilson, 9 for 37, and they just abandoned the run completely, but that's not completely surprising watching the Dolphins these past few weeks. Jalen Waddle, 5 catches for 143 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 4 grabs for 103 yards. And this was going to be the focal point and why there was so much anxiety and nervousness about this Dolphins team. These weapons against our secondary was going to be a problem. And they fit the bill. They came as advertised in that first half, and then the defense just locked them down a bit more in the second half. And on top of that, Tua just did not play well. And listen, there were some definite head scratchers today when it came to play calls, whether it was the 4th and 2, whether it was the fake punt on our own side of the field, which was just head scratching, which, by the way, we did not convert, and we gave it to Dallin Levitt instead, and that was an absolute disaster, setting up the Dolphins with great field position, but the defense came up clutch and stopped the Dolphins, held them to 3 there. So I have to do a big shout out to Joe Barry, because the adjustments they made in that second half, they paid off. Players started executing a bit well, and yes, Jair had that really bad missed tackle on Jalen Waddle's touchdown. You had Rasul Douglas making mistakes, but at the very end, they got 3 picks. Campbell had 1, Douglas had 1, Jair Alexander had 1, and the defense showed glimpses of how good they could be. Now, I'm not going to go crazy here and say, oh man, this is a turning point for the defense, what have you, but this is a big game for them to win, and to match up against these guys and shut them out in the second half, that's a big deal. Now, taking a look at the Dolphins, they have lost 4 straight now. They're sitting at 8-7, and now their playoff hopes are kind of in jeopardy. Keeps teams like the Jets, the Patriots, the Steelers alive. So we'll see if Mike McDaniel can even make the playoffs at this point, which, as a thought of them not making the postseason, was unfathomable 2 months ago. Meanwhile, the Packers, they have won 3 straight. Matt LaFleur is and continues to be undefeated in December, which is a damn good stat. So the Green Bay Packers ending 2022 will be on a 3-game win streak. And now, what does this mean for the rest of the season and potential postseason? As I said before, this was the weekend of the Packers. The Lions lost, the Giants lost to give some insurance there. The Commanders lost, and the Seahawks lost. As I did a video about how the Packers made the playoffs a little bit ago, now we don't have to worry about the Seahawks. There's only one team we need to worry about, and that is the Washington Commanders. If the Green Bay Packers win their last 2 games, which are home games against the Vikings and the Lions, they just need the Commanders to lose one of their last 2 games, which is either against the Browns or the Cowboys. Or they can have the Giants lose out, who are facing the Colts and the Eagles. So you kind of want the Eagles and Cowboys to be playing for something just in case this following week does not go our way. But right now, the Packers are almost in control of their destiny. And that is very exciting because a month ago, we would not have been even talking about postseason. But the Packers really just have to take it a week at a time. They have a tough division rival next week. Then they're going to have a season finale in Lambeau. And they may have just saved their season today with a big comeback win against the Miami Dolphins. They moved to 7-8. And oh boy, This was a good Christmas gift. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Before we get out of here, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Taki Moshi. A big shout out and thank you to you. And over on the YouTube side of things, join the Grossi Posse Plus, we have Packers Production, Isaiah Andres, and David B. A big shout out and thank you to you all. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel about this big win? Is the table set? Are we going to run it? We shall see. Let me know. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out Patcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.